Yeah, okay. So this exercise was asking us to find a graphical solution. So like I said, sometime if you can't remember how to use a technique for even simultaneous equation, you can always revert back to a graphical method, which is quite handy because it brings you back into drawing lines. And basically the solution here, in order to do this, what we tend to do is we try to find, we know that 2 points will define a line. So once you've got 2 points, you can draw a line through it. And the easiest points is to use x equals 0, then find y, and the other way as well, y equals 0, then find x. And that's what I'm doing here for A. For the first line, x plus y equals 3, and the second line, I've got x equals 0, then y equals 5. Whereas if I put y equals 0, I get x equals -5. So that would give me 2 points for the first line and 2 points for the second line. For B, we do the same kind of work. So by putting x equals 0, you get y equals -6. Whereas if I force y to a 0, then I need to move the -6 on the other side, which gives me 2x equals 6. And then you divide by 2 both sides, and then you get x equals 3. And the same thing for the second line, even easier, because when x equals 0, y equals 3, and y equals 0, x equals 3. When we do the same for C, you get a couple of points. And then for D, a couple of points. And once we've got them, what we can notice here quickly before I move, I've got this x equals 0, y equals 3. When y equals 0, x equals 3. And I think I've got x equals 0 somewhere else, y equals 3. When y equals 0, x equals 3. So that means those two lines, that red A line and the blue in B, are exactly the same line because they share two identical points. Okay, so now graphically, if we go to the graphical side, what we should get, okay, so before we do that, I've got F as well to give a couple of points, 0, 2, and x equals 2, then y equals 0, and the other way as well, x equals 0, y equals 6, when y equals 0, 2x equals 6, or x equals 3. And I think that's another line I've seen somewhere, that blue line there. Maybe not. We'll have a look. Once we draw them, we'll be able to see them. Then I went into a page here where you put your, where you're going to start drawing the line. So I've just recalled them at the top. So the first red line, so I've got 0 and 3. So 0 in x, y equals 3. Whereas when y equals 0, x equals 3. So I've got those 2 points. I draw a line. Do the same for the other one. 0 and 5, and -5 and 0. Draw the second line. And where the two lines meet is where my intersection is, and that's the solution to this. So when we're asked to solve this graphically, the solution is x equals -1, y equals 4. So that's the first one. I do the same for B. X equals 0, y equals -6, y equals 0, x equals 3. Link those 2 points. And the other line is this one, x equals 0, y equals 3, y equals 0, x equals 3. And where the two lines meet is this point here, 3 in x and 0 in y. That's my solution. Okay? And then we do the same for C. Plot those 2 points, 0 and 5. So 0 and 5 means y equals 5, so I'll put the y there. And then 0 and -5 is this one. So that's again another line that we've already done. And then 0, 13 over 3. So if you got your calculator, you can put 13 divided by 3, or you can say this is a bit like 4 1/3, because 4 times 3 is 12, so 4 1/3 if you were to use fraction. So it's a bit harder, but you can still do it. 4 1/3 is here. Whereas the other one is -6.5 in x. So negative 6.5, so it's between 6 and 7, negative 6, negative 7. And then you join those two, and where the 2 meets, it's this point here, minus 1.5 and 3.5 for y. And that would be my solution. Or you can write it as minus 3 over 2 and 7 over 2. It's up to you. Or 3.5. You've got 3 ways to give the answer. Okay? So that's how you solve this graphically, basically. So we had done this one, E, and I've added D for these 2 lines. And the intersection is here, which is solution 2 and 6. And I've added F, which is 0, 2, and 2, 0. That's the line there. And the other line is 0, 6. So that line there, and 0, 3. And the points where they meet is this point there. Okay? Which is 4 in x and negative 2 in y. And that's how you would solve all these graphically. Obviously, the slide here is quite busy, but if there's a question like this, you only need to do 2 lines. They're not going to ask you to draw 12 lines on the same graph, to be honest. It's just for you to practice them or see them. Okay? So that's how we would solve them. Any question on solving graphically? I don't see that, to be honest, being a question asked quite often, the graphical way. But you could see how easy it is to do. Couple of points, draw a line. So if one day you get a simultaneous equation and you're stuck, I would invite you to do that.
Could you have some graph paper with you in the exam if you were
So,
really?
yeah, so they would usually put a graph paper if they ask for a graph question. If they don't specify a graph, then you're allowed to bring a ruler.
Yeah.
So you could always use a square kind of, yeah, and just, you know,
Just
plot as you go, and then you will see the answer will come up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first. The second one is more like what you would get during an exam, the type of question. They're not going to tell you here solve. They're just going to solve the following pair of equations. They're not going to tell you by either adding or subtracting. They expect you to know that, but this is just the first exercise. So they walk us through a wee bit more. So the first thing we said we would do when we come to this is we need to identify them. So we just put one is going to be A, the other one B. Okay. I tend to put a circle around them rather than the brackets so that I know these are just me identifying, but I don't have a circle with a letter in PowerPoint, so that's why you've got them like that. But yeah, you see here, I was circling them. Then, in order to eliminate y, I can just add the two.
Add A and B.
Yeah. So adding A and B would give me 3x equal 18. And then you divide both sides by 3. And that's you've got x equals 6. And now once you've got x equals 6, you sub x into any of the two. So I would use the one at the top because the x and the y's have got no factors in them, and even easier, they don't have any negative in them. So I would use the one at the top, but if you use the one at the bottom, you should get the same answer as well, so it should be okay. So sub x equals 6. So why is this not working yet? Into A, so 6 plus y equal 10. Take away 6 on each side, and you get y equal 4. So my answer is x equals 6, y equal 4. Okay. The next one, same process. We're going to add them, A and B, to get rid of y. That means 6x equal 24. Divide by 6, x equal 4. Sub x, this time I'm probably going to sub x into b because I've got y which is positive. So sub x into b, give me the next stage. Then once you've sub x into b, you get 16 plus y equal 14, divide by, take away 16 both sides, you get y equal -2. That is my solution. So you can see it's much quicker than doing it graphically, right? Because you don't have to draw, but graphically you should get those answers. So if you wanted to practice one graphic, you can pick one example and just make sure that you get these two answers. The next one, I'm gonna now, this time I've got 3x at the top and 3x at the bottom. I'm gonna subtract them to make it easier for me, a minus b. Then you need to remember that because you've got a minus 2y, a minus minus becomes a positive 2y. And that's why we got 3y, same, minus 1, minus minus 7, which is minus 1 plus 7, which gives me 6. And dividing by 3 both sides, y equal 2. Then I'm going to sub y probably into a, and then 3x equal negative. So 3x plus 2, so 3x equal -3. Then you divide by 3 both sides, then x equal -1.
I had -7 plus 4, but I did it the other way.
Yeah, as I said, there's more than one
Yeah.
solution to every single one of them. And the next one, we're going to, again, subtract them. And when we subtract a and b, you get -x. Yeah, because we've subtracted a minus b. But you could have done b minus a if you wanted to, but you're going to get -11. And then x equal, you divide by -1 both sides, you get x equal -10. We sub that into a, and -10 putting on the other side, 5y equal 10 plus 11, which is 21. And then your answer is just 21 over 5, or if you prefer to write it as 4 and a fifth, it's up to you. I usually save my energy if I know it's not going to give me an extra mark. Okay. So we've got more. Here I've got 2x, -2x. Because the opposite sign, I'm going to add them. And that gave me 4y equal -4. And y equal -1. I'm going to sub y into a probably, yeah. 2x equal then 3 plus 5, which is 8. Then x equal 4. Easy enough. The next one, once I got my a and b, I'm going to add them again because I've got -x and an x. So -3, -2, that's -5y equals -8. And then you divide by -5 both. So dividing two negatives gives me an answer, a positive answer. Then I'm going to sub it into b because I get x straight away. So the 2 times 8, which is 16 over 5, goes on the other side. The 1, I'm going to make it 5 over 5. It's the same as the 1, just to get the common denominator. And 16 plus 5 is 21 over 5. And these are my answer for G. H, take away, because they're the same sign. So 20 take away 17, that's 3. So that's an easy one to do. Okay. And that's us for this one. Then I'm going to sub x into, so if I'm looking at here, those two, it's either I can time by 4 or time by 3. I'm going to probably do it into the
I times by 3.
Yeah, so this one, yeah, 4 times 3 is 12, or 3 times 3 is 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like even numbers for some reason. So
G, Adrian, I really struggle with that. I'm actually still trying to write it out just now. G was a tough one, especially with fractions. I didn't quite like that one.
okay, so basically,
I just practice. It's probably one of the toughest ones I
yeah,
did.
if you add them, the difficulty here is you've got negative 3y minus 2y. So it's like you've got two set of negatives. When you add them, they just become even more negatives.
Yeah.
So that was the first difficulty. And then -1 + 1 is just -8.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you need to divide both sides by -5. So if you're used to doing that, you know, when you divide both sides by -8. So it's a stage that I'm just skipping here, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a good one to take a habit of. No, both sides by -5
-5, yeah.
to get rid of that -5. And a negative divided by a negative is just a positive. And that's why I got my 8/5. Or if you wanted to, you can just say it's 1 and 3 over 3/5. Yeah, 1 and 3/5.
1 3/5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's my team.
Yeah, that's why, because you've got fraction, I would
Yeah.
rather keep it 8/5, because then I can just do into b 2 times 8/5, which is minus 16/5, and I just put it onto the other side, which become a positive 16/5.
Yeah.
And it's the one that you need to remember to change it as a 5/5. Or if you prefer use the kiss and smile, then you need to do it 16/5 plus 1/1 if you want to do it that way. And this, the way you've done it, you've done 1 times 16, which is 16, plus 5 times 1, which is 5, over 5 times 1.
Yeah, 21/5.
Which is, you get the same answer.
Yeah.
Which is 21/5.
Cool.
Okay. And the last two, we're going to add them, because I've got a 5y and a -5y. And that gives me 7x equal 28. And you divide by 7 both sides. Here, you would just do that if you were to show your working. And 28 divided by 7 is just 4. Now that I've got my 4, I'm going to plug it into A probably. Oh no, put it into B. Or because there's less multiplication to do. But you need to watch, you've got negative here though. So 4 minus 5y equal 19. Negative 4 goes on the other side. Or you can just do 5y equal minus 19 plus 4, which is minus 15. And now you've got your y equal negative 15 divided by 5, which is just negative 3. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So that's how you would solve this one. Now the next set of homework. Hold on. Why is this not changing? Don't tell me. Yeah. So if you click on next homework, it takes you straight to the page where you've got the next set of homework. So in this set, they're asking us to do all this work by elimination. So in order to eliminate, what we do is we look here. If I want to eliminate x, for example. So first of all, you annotate them. So you mark which one is A, which one is B. Then I'm going to decide to do A times 1, whereas B, I'm going to do B times 2. So that means I've got negative 2y at the top and positive 2y at the bottom. Then once I've got my C and D here, it's just a matter of adding them to get 5x equal 15. Yeah, so C plus D gives me 5x equal 15, then x equals 3. So the only difficulty is to choose which one you're going to eliminate first. And because you've got 2 times y here, you need to time that whole section. So the common mistake I see is people forgetting to time the whole section here. They only time the y. because they want to get rid of the y. But you need, if you time this section by 2, to keep the equation correct, you need to time as well that section by 2. And you time every term. You think about having brackets with a factor at front. It's 2 times 2x and 2 times y. Then you're going to sub your x equal 3. I'm going to do that maybe into b. So 6 plus y equals 7. Then it's just y equal 1, right? Because 6 plus 1 equals 7. Or you can do take away both sides. Okay. Okay, and for the next one, again, b, we're going to decide, we're going to call the first equation A, the second equation B. If you decide to eliminate y, because you've got a 3y there and a negative y, we're going to time b by 3 and keep a time 1, for example. That means you've got your c and d here. You just add them. That gives us 7x equal 35, which is quite handy. Then you divide by 7 both sides, and you got x equal 5. And now you're going to sub x equal 5 into b, which gives us 5 minus y equal 8. And in order to get an 8 here, you need to take away a negative, which makes it positive. So 5 plus 3 is 8, or 5 minus minus 3, which is why y equal minus 3. Or you could just do take away 5 both sides, then divide by negative 1 both sides, and you should get the same answer. Okay, so that was C. Oh, sorry, B. Is that okay? So for C, I'm going to go to the next page. So for C, I've got x minus 5y. So they're both the same sign, so it's up to us what we're going to do. We either prefer to time by 5, or we prefer to time by 3. So here we're going to decide, okay, let's do by 3. So that tells me that 3x minus 15y equals 39. And b, I'm just going to keep it the way it is by timing it by 1. And now I can take away, I can do c minus d, which give me 3x minus 3x, 0x. And then 15y minus minus y, which is plus y, minus 14y equal 39 minus minus 9, which is 48. Then I divide both sides by 14. But noticing that 48 and 14 are both even, you can divide by 2. The 48 becomes 24, and the 14 becomes 7. And because 24 is not in the 7 timetable, you can just leave it like that. Now we need to sub y into one of the two. So sub y equal negative 24 over 7 into b, for example. Then that gives me, where's b? 3x? Yeah, so we're here, C. So 3x minus minus, which give me plus 24 over 7 equal negative 9. Then I take away 24 over 7 on both sides. So basically you end up with minus 9 minus 24 over 7. So now you can do your kiss and smile if you want. So 7
minus 63.
Yeah, so, and then after that you divide by 3. So 7 times 9 is 63. Minus 63 minus 24, which is minus 87. 87 divided by 7. But then you divide that by 3 because of the 3x. And you can see that 87 is a multiple of 3 because 7 add on 8. 7 add on 8 is 15. And 15 is in the 3 timetable. Okay, so it's basically you work with fractions on that one to get your answer. And both answers are fractions. So for D, I'm looking at this. I'm going to do A times 4 and B times 1 to get my C and D, and I'm going to add them up. So that becomes 11x equal 66. So that's quite easy because I'm just going to divide by 11 both sides. Then x equals 6. And we're going to sub x equals 6 into the top one, definitely, because that gives me y on its own. So 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus y equals 10. Then take away 12 both sides. 10 minus 12 is minus 2. Okay. And I think we did E last time together. That was E there. I had A equal -1 and B equal -2. And I think there's more. Yeah, there's F, G, and H. So remember, it's not just X and Y. Sometimes you might have to use other letters. So this is more to get you used to practicing other letters. So unfortunately, they pick like P and Q, and which is not very dyslexia friendly. So, but during an exam, I try to, if I put the test together, I try to avoid B and D and P and Q, because if it's already a nightmare, then you don't want to add that stress on top of what you should be doing. So we're going to do A times 2 this time to get minus 2q at the top, and then B times 1, and I'm just going to add them together. And once you add them together, things becomes a bit easier, because C plus D, or C minus D, I'm going to take it away. So you get 8p minus 3p, which is 5p, and 34 minus 19, which is 15. Then p is just 15 divided by 5, which is 3. Then I'm going to put it into A, sub it in. That means 12 minus q equals 17. And I need to have a -5 to get the 17. Okay. And for G, we're going to do A times 2 to get rid of, why did we do A times 2? Let me think about that. Oh yeah, to make it a 4. If you want 4s to go, you can just do A times 2 and then B times 1. And now you've got 4s on both sides. Then you add them up, C plus D, you get 7t equal -18, and then divide by 7. So again, that's a fraction. So sub the fraction into, let's say, A, then you get minus 2s plus, or because it's negative, minus 90/7 equal 2. Then 2s equal, okay, so you can move 2s on that side and the -2 on that side. So minus 2, which is minus 14/7. So minus 4, so 14 plus 90 is 104/7. And then we divide that by 2, both sides, and you get 52/7 with a negative in front. Okay.
Yes.
And for the last one from that list, I'm going to time the top by 4 and keep the bottom B the same. So D is just B. And then I'm going to add them together. 12c plus 2c is going to give me 14c, as -12 minus -12 plus 5 is -7. So again, 14c equal -7, divide by 14 both sides, but you need to keep going because 14 is a multiple of 7. So that means I can divide both the top and the bottom by 7. And this is your simplified answer for C. We're going to sub C into probably B or A. Okay, because I've got D on its own here. So -3/2, because you time that by 3. Okay. So -3/2 minus D equal -3. You put D on that side and you put +3 here. So 3 minus 3/2. So then you need to set that 3 minus 3/2. And it's the same as 3 divided by 1 if you want. And you can do your cross and smile. So 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 3 divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. Yeah? So I've got 3 minus 3/2. Should have been a positive number. So I've made a mistake somewhere. So 3/2 should be my answer. Let me check this. So D comes here. So this should have been a positive 3/2. Because I moved D on that side and 3 on that side. So 3 minus 3/2 is positive. Because it's 6/2 minus 3/2. Okay.
That's when I'm going to lose points, 100%.
With the fractions, fractions is usually the section. There is a lesson on fraction on its own actually. In the application, there's a topic that just talks about fraction, and even people have been doing it for a long time, but I don't know, it's always been the hardest to teach and to keep. And yeah, but yeah, I'll try and set. There's 4 things to remember about fraction. If we can get that eventually, we'll get there. Okay.
Yep.
So let's see. Next set of homework was probably more to do with work, I think. Let me set that. Next homework. Yeah, so this was a type of problem solving that you may get. I think we talked about this one last time. So the first type, so we were told that brass is made mixing copper and zinc. The first type uses 6 cubic centimeter of copper and 5 cubic centimeter of zinc, and the mixture, the mass for the mixture was 89 gram. So let C be the mass of 1 cubic centimeter and Z be the mass of 1 cubic. Write down an equation. So I've got 6 cubic of the one plus 5 cubic of the other one equal the total mass. So you just write 6C plus 5Z equal 89. So that was for this mark here. The second type of brass use 8 cubic centimeter of copper and 3 cubic centimeter of zinc. And we were told that the mass was 93. Write down the second equation. So your second mark will come here. 8C plus 3Z equal 93. And now you've got simultaneous equations and find the mass of one. So basically we've been asked to find C and Z, the mass of 1 cubic centimeter of zinc. So what we could decide here is which one we're going to eliminate first. So after having called them A and B, I'm going to do 3 times A because that's going to make the 5Z a 15, and I'm going to do B times 5. So basically you just swap these. So you time B with the factor of z from the top, and you time a with the factor of z at the bottom, and that gives us the 15z, both the top and the bottom. Okay, so it's like trying to find the highest common multiple, basically. Sorry, the lowest common multiple. And 15z, because we've got them on both equations now, we can just take away a and b, which we called it d minus c. So have you noticed, instead of doing c minus d, I've used the biggest one, or the equation which got the bigger number. I've made it d minus c, so that I've got only positive number to work with. So that's another trick that you could use. People do automatically c minus d because they've been doing it all the time, but either you can do c minus d or d minus c. So make it so that the work that you do is less hard. Okay, so if I deal with positive, I find it much easier than dealing with negatives, and that's why I get 22c. So 40 minus 18 is 22, equal 465 divided by minus 267. And if you, on your calculator, if you divide 198 by 22, you should get 9. And 9 is a good answer because you see 198. If you add 8 and 1, you get 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. So 18 is 8 and 1. If you add 8 and 1, you get 9. So that is a multiple of 9. Okay. And that gives me a good feeling when I give that answer that this is probably the right answer. Okay. So because that could be a question without a calculator. This type of question. So you might say to yourself, how am I going to do 198 divided by 22? Okay, so now this is where you use these numbers. So you can see that 10 is too much and 8 is not enough. So you can do it by trial and error. And because you can add all these digits, then that pushes you to go for a multiple of 9, for example. And then you can try it. Okay? Because long division is something that people find quite difficult. Or the other thing is, remember I told you, I hated division when I was at primary. And the day someone showed me this, what do we have at the top? Is that even or odd?
Even.
What do I have at the bottom?
Even.
Even. Can we half 198? Yeah?
Yeah.
So what's 198 divided by 2? So it's nearly 200, so it's nearly 100, but not quite 100.
94, 5, 9.
So it's nearly 100, but not quite. Because 198 is close to 200, right? So if you replace 200, if you replace 198 by 200, your answer would have been 100. But it's because you take away 2 from it, then you need to take away 1 from the half of the 2, yeah? And that becomes 99. And what's 22 divided by 2?
11.
So what's 99 divided by 11?
9.
There you go. So did you see me? Have I used a long division in that process? No, I've just divided by 2. And I've just divided by 2. And that's why I kept telling you the day someone showed me how to use fraction was the day they made me like math again, because I hate it. At primary, we were taught to do 22 divided by 198, and you would to go through 10 of these during the day. And every time you miss one, the ruler would come out and your hand was being felt. So that was hard. Whereas if you can see how you can simplify fractions, it makes it easier. But if you don't think 198, you can half it quite easily. Just, you can do that. Divide by 2, so yeah. How many 2's? So 0, then 9, so 19. How many can get 9 of them? 9 times 2 is 18, remainder 1. And then 18 divided by 2 is another 9. So you could do it that way. So that's how my student would do it. If I asked them to do 198 divided by 2, they would just go. The funny thing is they would cross that one out and say 0 and then just put the 1 here. And that's 19 and 18. Yeah? So that's why I'm telling you that could be a question without a calculator. Okay, so don't be surprised that they'll challenge people to do these kind of divisions. Okay. Next, we sub C into one of them too. So I picked 6C because 6 times 9 is 54 plus 5Z equal 89. And then you take away 54 both sides. So 89 take away 54. And then you divide by, so that's 35, I think. You divide by 5 both sides, and then you end up with Z equals 7. So C equals 9, Z equals 7. Okay, and you can quickly check your answer. To make sure it works. So you just sub it into 6 times 9 plus 5 times 7, and that's 89, which is the one that we've just done. And you can check it on the second one. Okay. So I think after that, we looked at all these. Yeah. Oh yeah, so this one was, we had a supermarket where you had 5 tomatoes and 3 onions, and the cost was $2.35, whereas 2 tomatoes and 7 onions was £2.39. So Alex goes to the checkout with 9 tomatoes and 4 onions. He has £6. Would that be enough? So you need to find the price of 1 tomato and 1 onion. And once you've got that, you just do 9 times x plus 4 times y, and you see if it's less than 6. Okay, so same simultaneous equations. We're going to time a by 2 to get 10x, and b, we're going to time it by 5. So basically those numbers here, if you want to know where they come from, it's this one here, and that one is this one there. So basically think about timing across there, and that would eliminate at least one of them. 10x plus 6y is 470. Again, time everything by 2 and time everything by 5. And now we're going to just do d minus c, which is 29y equals 725, and 7.25 divided by 29. So this would be a question with a calculator. Is y equals 0.25. So 25 pence for 1 tomato, whatever. And then you sub that into b. So 2 times x plus 7 times 0.25, which is £1.75 equal 239. Now we're going to take away 175 from 239, and we're going to divide all that by 2, and you get the price of 1 onion. Now let's see if 9 times 0.32 plus 4 times 0.25 is less than £6, and it is only 388, which means Alex has enough money, enough cash on him. Okay? Yeah?
Yep.
Get more money than me.
So that was that was the yeah, so the problem type solving questions that you may get. So I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to stop